In the Indian Express today, we have a very important and insightful article as to how AI data centers operate. These are always in the news, guys, right? For example, if we are trying to build a proper AI ecosystem in the country, we need to have more AI data centers. What are all these things? Let us understand one by one. Firstly, AI data centers are specialized buildings, which are actually built according to the massive amount of technological devices and the needs that help run any AI systems properly. For example, if we are talking about ChatGPT, Gemini, all of these are AI systems, right? They are based on AI models which require a lot of power. They are based on mainly, the huge amount of physical infrastructure. For example, the AI data centers which houses this popular AI model, they require large amount of lands, a lot of reliable and uninterrupted electrical supply. Also, they need cooling systems. Why? Because they have something which we know as graphical processing units. These are the highly specialized chips where NVIDIA is dominating right now. Now these chips, they are super specialized to run various complex systems such as games and even AI systems, because AI simply requires a lot of data. And all the models, for example ChatGPT, Gemini, they depend a lot of AI data training. And you can only train if you have a good amount of GPUs. And these GPUs, they require a lot of power and hence this amount of physical infrastructure. They are very different, from your traditional data centers. Traditional data centers, they do not require a lot of GPUs. They can actually run on CPUs. For example, talk about the cloud infrastructure, talk about the servers that we have for various websites. They only require CPUs such as from Intel and various other companies. But AI centers, they require GPUs. They require a lot of data training to actually train their models. And these models, then only they can be released into the public. Right? So that is why we have to understand, whenever we train a model, we give it enormous data, the GPUs process this data, and whenever you ask a question to ChatGPT or you are actually using Gemini to create various infographics and images, you are actually using the facilities at this amount of data centers. Right? So these data centers have various stacks of GPUs on one and another, and that is why if you see, this push for AI centers in the country go way back to a very unusual Government of India enterprise, that is the Reserve Bank of India. They actually for the first time talked about more data centers in the country just because of the amount of growing need for storing financial data. And financial data must be stored secured into the country itself. Also, in 2020, the Government of India released a national data center policy in a draft format. Right? Also, in 2022, the data centers are actually right now classified as infrastructure. So when we are building a new AI data center, that is a part of the infrastructure of the country. Also, when we talk about the regulation of the data, the storage of the same, in 2023 we had the Digital Personal Data Protection Act. Also, finally, in 2024, India actually announced the major India AI mission, which is around $1.2 billion worth of investment in procuring the graphical processing units that would go into the AI systems here. And finally, in 2025, we had the Shanti Bill, which encourages private sector participation in the nuclear program. And one of the main need for having more nuclear reactors is to ensure uninterrupted electrical supply to these data centers, because nuclear energy is actually quite reliant when we talk about uninterrupted energy. And at the end of the day, in 2026, in the union budget, we had so many features of promoting more and more amount of AI data centers in the country. Now, when we talk about the global race here, India is way behind with only 152 data centers. As of our 2025 report, India produces around 20% of the world's data, but only around 3% of the global data center capability internationally. So you understand there is a mismatch. That means we are actually dependent more on the data centers based in China, based in US, because they are the leaders. And why we are dependent? Because we are not the first mover. When we talk about the AI systems here, they are actually quite behind the AI systems of US and China. Also, when we talk about the cost of AI data centers, they are massive. We require a lot of water, we require a lot of land, we require a lot of electricity, we require a lot of legal fees. All of these things are actually too much for the country right now, and that is why the government is giving support here. Also, when we talk about the AI ecosystem, it is actually requiring a lot of subsidiary investments too. For example, we have to buy GPUs, we have to talk about nuclear power, we have to talk about proper amount of road infrastructure, we have to talk about the connectivity with the entire world, we have to talk about proper amount of, say, submarine cables too, because the submarine cables which are laid internationally as a form of optical fiber, they actually enable the transmission of internet at high speed. And that is why, if you understand, Mumbai and Chennai, they are the dominant cities which run AI data centers in the country, because they are connected to the submarine cable routes. But this does not mean that the rest of the India is not actually talking about the same. If you talk about this article here, this project is actually ongoing in Greater Noida. Similarly, if you understand, we have so many other plans, right? For example, Google and Adani cooperation, Microsoft, TCS, Amazon, right? And so many other companies are actually talking about more projects. But there are some concerns which we have to talk about. For example, 1 megawatt data center of AI requires 25.5 million liters of water per year. So we need to ensure this too. Also, these centers generate huge amount of heat, so we have to be more reliant on the cooling systems. Also, when we talk about the AI centers, they require a lot of skilled manpower, which we lack in our country. And at the end of the day, these lands are creating a lot of legal disputes, because sometimes these lands which are taken for creating more AI data centers, proper compensation is not paid in most of the times. This is leading to more and more legal issues. And this is why the government of India actually has come up with so many incentives. Firstly, we have the India AI mission. As of 2026, we are purchasing more 20,000 GPUs. And it is a very well-known figure right now that researchers who would want to use the benefit of this India AI mission would only need to pay around 65 rupees per hour. That means right now the India AI mission, which we are talking about including more startups by actually giving them more GPUs at an affordable price, they can lend their services at this cheaper rate. In the latest budget, the union government also announced that AI data centers which would be set up in the country, under some conditions they would not pay any tax till India becomes a developed country in 2047. Also, the government is spending more on liquid cooling systems. Then we are talking about setting up green data centers by partnering with nuclear power plants, solar power plants. We have also come up with the data protection rules of 2025, so that the majority of the data that is being trained can remain in India, and only under strict compliances and standards those data can be sent internationally. Because data is a very sensitive thing, guys. We should not be letting data going out of India without any rules and regulations, for which we have the same, and for which we also have a India Data Management Office. Also, at the end of the day, we are having this India Dataset platform, where most of the public and some of the private data can be used by the AI Indian startups. Because the AI Indian startups do not have huge amount of funds to purchase new data, so the government of India has made a uniform platform for the same. So these were the various things that we have to talk about this article. Now we can move on to the next one.